Hello, guys and gals, and I think this is going to be the last part. This is going to be part 29 of our reading of A Natural History of Dragons. We basically read the whole thing in the last part. Okay, wait. First of all, though, we need to go over the copyright information, which clearly says A Natural History of Dragons, copyright 2013 by Bryn Noonschwander. All rights reserved. Interior illustrations by Todd Lockwood. Maps by Rhys Davies. And designed by Greg Collins. Now, in the last part, they basically, Rossi and Kurzov died in a dragon attack. Everybody got away. Jacob died. They buried him and the dead in Drusenev, and basically Lady Isabella Camhurst, otherwise known as Lady Trent, basically published a book. They also are going to find a chemist to look over Rossi's notes, so maybe they could artificially create the substance in dragon bones or something like that. Anyways, we are going to continue where we left off, which is really close to the end. I'm going to read this previous paragraph here. My fingers trembled as I brushed them over the green leather cover, then opened to the title page. Concerning the rock worms of Vestrana, it read, and in smaller letters, their anatomy, biology, and activity, with particular attention to their relation with humans and the revelation of morning behavior. And then a short distance below the title, by Jacob Camhurst and others. It ought to have your name on it, Lord Hilford said bluntly, alongside his at the very least. I shook my head. I had not taken much care in dressing that morning. My hair was only hastily pinned up, and a hank of it fell forward at the motion, half obscuring Jacob's name. This is all the scholarship that will ever be credited to him. I have no desire to claim it as my own. Claim it or not, it is still yours, at least in part. Lord Hilford dropped into a chair without first asking permission, but I did not begrudge it. If I was going to receive him in a shabby old gown, with my hair falling down everywhere, I could hardly stand on formality, he said. If we're ever going to get those old sticks at the colloquium to let you present to them, we must start laying the groundwork now. Me? Present? I stared at the Earl. Whatever would I do? Why ever would I do that? He snorted through his mustache. Come now, Mrs. Camhurst. Books are all well and good, but if you intend to be a scholar, you must have the acquaintance of your peers. With careful hands, I closed the book and laid it aside. Then, tucked my hair behind my ear. Who said I intend to be a scholar? I did, he said bluntly. You aren't going to give this up. Right now you're grieving. I understand that. I'm not here to chide you out of it. But you have a shed full of sparklings out back, and a book you wrote, even if your name isn't on it. Any woman who puts in that kind of effort is not a woman who can simply turn her back on intellectual inquiry. You're dragon mad, Miss Camhurst, and sooner or later you'll be keen to have another chance at it. When that day comes, let me know. Having pronounced those odd words, he levered himself up out of the chair, nodded a polite farewell, and headed for the sitting room door. It was swinging shut behind him when I found my tongue. What do you mean? What other chance? Lord Hilford caught the edge of the door and peered around it. His whiskered face all studied innocence. Oh, didn't I mention? It so happens that. Oh no, if you intend to give all this up, then it's of no interest to you. I had risen from my chair without realizing it. Lord Hilford, I will thank you not to play games with me. If you have something to say, as you so obviously do, then stop hanging about in the doorway. Come back in here and tell me. He complied, a smile beginning to break his casual facade. A little matter concerning the Skirling colony in Cebu. His Majesty's government is sufficiently pleased with the progress there that as of next year they will grant visas for citizens to travel there. Cebu, it's actually NSEBU, so it's in Cebu. I knew of it only from the papers and not much even then. Something about establishing a colony to protect Skirling interest in Aragon iron, and to oppose Ickwound aggression. Are there dragons there? Are there dragons, Miss Camhurst? I must remedy your lack of cartographical knowledge at once. Cebu lies scarcely across the border from Moulin, Moulish swamp worms, ugly beasts with an extraordinary breath of foul gas. But 200 years before, the great traveler Yves de Manchower had written of people in the swamp who worshipped dragons as the ancient Draconians had. His claims had never been verified or even investigated. So some identify 3 major breeds of dragons within the region, Lord Hilford added. Others say there are no fewer than 7. It wants a proper study, truly. For one glorious moment, the bleakness of grief lifted from my spirit. To go to Ariga and see the dragons there, but then practicality reasserted itself. Mr. Wilker could not pay for chemical experimentation himself. Between that and my son, I had scarce enough money left to run my household, and expedition was out of the question, even if I had the first notion how to organize one. I said as much to Lord Hilford, and then added politely, but I would be grateful to hear of what your expedition learns. My expedition, my dear Mrs. Camhurst, I cannot go to Cebu. The heat, the humid air, my health would never permit it. Let me phrase this in the way you cannot misinterpret. I intend to fund an expedition, and if you wish to join it, all you need to do is say so. Fortunately, my blindly groping hand found my chair again before I attempted to sit where it was not. Once I was securely planted, with no risk of falling, I said, but Lord Hilford put up one hand. You needn't say anything now. One way or another, the expedition won't happen tomorrow, but I wanted you to be aware of it. You can make your decision later. Thank you, I said faintly, and so he departed. After what seemed an eternity of staring blankly at the wall, I picked up the green-bound volume of Jacobs and my work, and went to set it on my desk. Then I paused, staring at the slim spine of Sir Richard Edgeworth's A Natural History of Dragons, the volume I had read so many times as a child, the one my father had given me upon my marriage to Jacob. Life without dragons was grey and empty. Sparklings had me out of my grief that out of the grief that followed the loss of my first unborn child. Might not their larger cousins do the same for the loss of my husband? The mere prospect of it was already lifting my spirits. To define myself first and foremost, not as a widow, but as a scholar. The dragon within my heart stirred, shifting her wings, as if remembering they could be used to fly. Tucking errant strands of hair behind my ears, I took A Natural History of Dragons off the shelf and curled up in the window seat to read. Says here, the memoirs of Lady Trent continue in The Tropic of Serpents, available at all booksellers of repute. Lady Trent has graciously shared an excerpt from the manuscript for enjoyment. Oh, and apparently it's not in this book. Okay, that's cool. Okay, so we are done with the book. We've read the whole thing, and we have been reading from A Natural History of Dragons, a memoir by Lady Trent. It is a book by Marie Brennan. If you like this content, then make sure you like and subscribe and ring the bell so you know when I upload. Also, if you want to support me anyway, all that, or if you want to join the Discord server, all the information will be in the description below. As always, thanks for watching, everyone, and have a great day.